Anthropology, Albert Einstein, Cleopatra, William Shakespeare, Elton John, Michael Phelps, Barack Obama. Who's to say that they're all gone?
Silly Lyra, what are you suggesting? That Equestria used to have humans? That they all died out? That Equestria is some kind of post-apocalyptic land like in Adventure Time? Nah. If that were true, then obviously there would be inventions and tools left over that wouldn't make sense for ponies to use. There would be ruins all over the place. Their history would be disjointed and difficult to interpret what is real and what is legend. And surely the ancient beings like Celestia and Discord would be aware of these humans. Wait. Oh my...
What is a home? A slice of life. A peace of mind. A break. It's the place you dream of. Paradise. Comfort. It's choices. Forget what other places you'd like to live in. Live here. Live in the now. Night falls, day breaks, you wake up beautiful. Equestria. Not a place to visit, a place to stay. And all of its weight supported by the remains of a human civilization beneath it?
Could this be true? What evidence is there for a post-apocalyptic Equestria? Let's start with the list I regurgitated in the intro. Firstly, what has been left behind? Ponies are the dominant race in Equestria, so, logically, their tools and equipment would be tailored for a pony, right? So, if we see anything that clearly isn't tailored for a pony, if we find some vestigial things in Equestria, then we can only assume that a few things are canonically true.
To eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
Either A, the pony who invented it has very inefficient ideas that also happen to very closely resemble human tools. B, some other race with fingers like the oh-so-innovative dragon left it there. Or C, these tools, or ones like it, were left over from long before and their design was never updated. I think I would prefer the third explanation. But are there any things like that in Equestria? Saddles exist for who knows what reason, the oh-so-useful horse-drawn carriages, quills, which would only be usable in the same way as a pen, construction tools, which again would be held in the mouth, lassos, mugs, cameras, printing press, other cups, violins. Is that a car tire buried underneath 5 layers of dirt? Nothing is made to work well with ponies here, and the only race that can probably use everything fine is unicorns. That's one check for a post-apocalyptic Equestria. Lots of ruins? Check. Well, maybe not. The only major ruin we see in the show is the Castle of the Two Sisters, which we clearly see was fine 1,000 years ago. But believe it or not, this doesn't actually put any kind of damper on the theory. This was 1,000 years ago, and Celestia still looks exactly the same, meaning there's no telling how old she is. Even this could have been long after the humans had gone. And Equestria is a place filled with civilization and cities. Chances are, anything that might have been ruined could have been renovated and rebuilt, or eroded into dust by now. But who's to say this is even Earth?
Actually, Equestria is a real place and
go away. Does this look like any continent we currently have? Well, no. But if you take into account that much of this is not to scale, and since we are told that there are places other than Equestria, this should be a bit smaller than it is now to make room for those foreign lands, it begins to look more familiar. Still think that this doesn't look like the US? Where there's always a strong possibility that they haven't done a lot of exploring, and that pony cartography just isn't quite up to snuff yet. I mean, just look at what map makers used to think the Americas looked like. If this ever was a standard then, I think the Equestria map is pretty darn good. Even the biomes and names are pretty accurate to North America. Everything checks out. As for the names, more populated areas surely had signs everywhere, so if even a few of them survived whatever led to Equestria being what it is today, the name would have stuck. Albeit with some alterations, or hey, maybe everything intelligent enough to do so just remembered the names.
And vanished to the ice of the Arctic North.
also known as Canada.
Now, these aren't the only things that lead me to believe this is Earth. In fact, the ponies say so themselves. Really, in the comics, Luna talks about bringing the moon closer to Earth. Heck, a third of the equine race is called Earth ponies.
But dude, they don't literally mean Earth, they just mean the planets they're on.
A lot of times, people will think that the Earth is just a synonym for dirt, or the home planet, but that's only because Earth is our home planet. Our dirt is a part of Earth. I bet that if we were on some other planet like Krypton, we would call the dirt Krypton, not Earth. Ponies would do the same, wouldn't they? Now, historically, ponies have never been the most accurate or thorough in their recordings. Everything seems to depict Celestia with pink hair. The story of the princess sister's banishment was so vague, it was regarded as nothing more than legend for years. Not even the princess's star pupil seemed to be able to put two and two together that Celestia was the princess from the story until later.
Little sister. Sister?
Even in the comics, there's an entire story about how nobody in Ponyville could agree on how it was founded, let alone all of Equestria. There's a lot of mystery surrounding the history of Equestria. Maybe something on a global scale did happen a long time ago. Something that would scatter and destroy any historical records, forcing all intelligent life to start all over. Discord obviously knows a lot about all kinds of life. He's made multiple references to modern day pop culture and to a live action dimension. Surely he would know about people. And Celestia? Remember back to when she warned the main six not to all go into the mirror world. Why is that? She's taught Twilight about the magic of friendship. That is her thing. Why on earth wouldn't she bring her friends, other than if she already knew that her friends were present on the other side? Celestia knew about the human world. Although, that doesn't explain why she says,
You'll soon know more about this place than even I do.
was she lying? If she knew much about the human world, that means that she would have stayed there long enough to meet some, to know that the main six have doppelgangers, right? But then, these mirrors were developed primarily by Starswirl, not Celestia. She was just along for the ride. Meaning that Celestia may have never gotten a chance to travel through it much at all. I mean, that would cause a lot of problems, wouldn't it? What if she met herself, or some students? Wouldn't they be confused as to why their principal was acting so strange? Then again, what if she traveled there at the time of Starswirl? Maybe her alternate self wasn't born yet, being presumably a normal human. But even that brings up more issues. If this is an alternate dimension, then why are their ages so drastically out of sync? Celestia is thousands of years old. The human one is not only a normal human by all accounts, but also just so happens to be alive when Twilight visits. Something is wrong. So why are their ages so terribly out of sync? How did Celestia know about any of the humans? And what exactly does any of this have to do with Equestrian past? Well, there's one simple answer for all of these questions. This portal to the human world is in fact not an interdimensional door, but a time machine. This world is Equestria's past. Somewhere along the line, something happened, causing the world to change on a global scale into the colorful world of Equestria we know today. How did Celestia know about other humans? Because she was there. Celestia isn't just a seemingly immortal alicorn, she's a survivor. Human Celestia and alicorn Celestia are one and the same. Whatever happened to change the world, Celestia got caught in the middle. Or Celestia and Luna had to both ascend into alicorn status. So maybe they were just survivors up until that point. But then, that doesn't explain the others' ages, does it? Or why they are there in the first place. If this isn't another dimension, why do so many characters have their own doppelgangers? That one's a bit more tricky to answer. The magic of friendship was enough to bring the main six together and get their cutie marks simultaneously, even before they ever met. Maybe in the same way, when the Tree of Harmony was first discovered around the time of Starswirl, seeds of the past, when the magic of friendship first materialized, were being planted. Once Luna was banished to the moon, new bearers of the elements of harmony were needed, and so an entire generation of people were brought back via the magic of harmony. Maybe not quite at the same time or in the same order as before, hence the age discrepancies. The magic of friendship does seem to have a mind of its own. What with the map, and the castle, and the box? I wouldn't put it past the magic of friendship to do something like this either. However, while its credibility in comparison may be debatable, there is another answer. When Luna was banished, there needed to be new bearers for the elements of harmony. Now Celestia has this portal at her disposal. A portal to a time and place where the magic of friendship had revealed itself once before, without even having the elements on hand. What if she wanted a way to bring those 6 girls back to her time, but permanently, without disrupting the past? How would she do it? Well, what if she had a facility built? One that worked on, spoiler warning for one of my other videos, genetic manipulation and cloning. Now I know my conclusion in this video was robots, but as many people pointed out, genetic engineering and cloning is just as good of a conclusion here. So what if that was the case? As the principal of Canterlot High, she could more than easily gather up genetic samples from anyone she wanted. Now of course, Cloning ain't no easy process. She might need to run some tests first. For example, get a hair sample from Granny Smith, Trixie, or Cheerly. Clone them first and see if it works. This is why so many people from the past are present in the future, due to extensive testing of the facility. Isn't it a bit coincidental that the main six, the next bearers of the element of harmony, only arrive around the time of Luna's return? 1,000 years passed without anyone to protect Equestria or use the elements. Isn't that a weird coincidence? No, it was intentional. Celestia wanted to be sure that this opportunity to bring the elements back wasn't wasted. She wanted to make sure she brought them back at just the right time to defend against her sister. However, this leaves a few factors unanswered. Just what happened to so change the world? How does Sunset Shimmer come into play here? Where is Sunset Shimmer's lookalike? Where is she living? Well, thinking about it, if the magic of friendship sort of reincarnated an entire generation of people, Sunset would not be included. She wasn't born there, and if Celestia wanted to bring back the main six, I think she certainly wouldn't want to bring back the she-demon that was Sunset Shimmer. But what happened? If the human world is Equestria, why does magic work so differently there? In a very recent book, Sunset Shimmer's Time to Shine, oh, that dress. Sunset Shimmer seems lost and confused about her purpose anymore, until she reads a message from Twilight and decides that her purpose must be to be a magic investigator. She decides to go in-depth studying about equestrian magic in the human world. In the end, it is chalked up to the magic of friendship just doing it, and they mostly forget about it. But then, small rainbows begin to appear and fall around them like snowflakes. The book ends with Sunset Shimmer asking Twilight about the rainbows via Book I Am, half debating returning to her magical studies. Nothing wrong with being curious, right? Careful, Sunset. Careful.
Well, ain't that just a bit ominous?
Of course, this is heavily implying that Sunset is thinking about / may return to her scientific studies of equestrian magic. Not only that, but that such studies may be dangerous. But what if she did return to studying said magic? What if she wasn't careful? What if she took it too far and caused an accident? An accident that amplified the little bit of leftover equestrian magic from Twilight's visit. And in this world where magic cannot connect with the Tree of Harmony or the other elements, the magic went out of control, causing a worldwide burst of magic on an apocalyptic scale. Maybe one that turned humans into ponies, dogs, and other things. One that turned dogs into dragons. One that created Equestria, leaving behind hundreds of now useless tools and vehicles to be buried in the years to come. One that left historians and experts baffled and confused, trying to explain just what happened. Maybe it magically changed how DNA itself was translated, so that anyone who went back and forth would change races themselves.
But that is a bootstrap paradox, sir.
No, shut up. See, this kind of paradox is completely okay to have. Why? Because this show has had this exact paradox in an episode before, meaning that for some reason in this world, such a paradox is okay. This has a lot of implications. Sunset is like the human parallel of Twilight now, right? So when the apocalypse hits, will she become princess of that world for a while? Is the magical text message book really just the same book in different timelines, which can work in real time because Sunset is a temporal anomaly? Are Applejack's parents dead, or did Celestia just never bother to clone them? Was Star Swirl an idiot for sending the sirens into the past? Is this whole video just a ripoff of Adventure Time?